All right, day 14 of 30 Days of Netflix. Today's movie is Mary and Max. I got nothing. I don't even remember where I first heard of this movie. It's a claymation feature, and I'm a big animation buff. I love animated features. Uh, Hand drawn, puppets, claymation, CG, whatever. Love animation. To the point where there are a lot of films I can kind of excuse for sucking as movies because I enjoy the artistry of the animation so much. Um, I don't know if it's a comedy. I don't know if it's a drama. I guess I'll find out. Okay, I knew a little more about the movie than I let on in the intro. I did know that the basic premise of the movie is there's two characters, Mary and Max, obviously, and they're pen pals. One is some old guy who lives in New York, and one is a very young girl who lives in Australia. And the movie is them writing back and forth to each other. That I knew. I forgot to say that, but that's the premise of the movie. Okay, I've seen it. I like it. And I was kind of waffling back and forth on this throughout the film, but yeah, I really liked it. I don't know if I could recommend it though, because this is one of those films that I could totally see most people not really digging. It's claymation, which some people just by default find that kind of off putting and hard to watch, which is fine. It's nowhere near the level of like Aardman or Leica or any of those companies that do stop motion animation films, but it's respectable. It's obviously it's done well. It's done smart. It's got a very unique design aesthetic, in the sense that Tim Burton has his own particular design aesthetic. So does Adam Elliott. Very unique look to this movie. It's done mostly in black and white. There are some beiges and oranges and browns and things like that, but it's mostly a black and white film. And it is quirky with a capital Qu. Almost to the, actually, arguably to the point of quirky for quirky's sake, which can kind of feel pretentious and get annoying. But I felt it worked. The characters are. Let me give you an example of one thing that happens in this film. Max, the older guy who lives in New York, has Asperger's. And he mentions to Mary that he tries to understand emotions and he's tried to cry before. Like, he recognizes that things are sad and the normal response would be to cry. But he squeezes as hard as he can, but he just can't seem to get tears to come out. So what she does is you see a little thought bubble of a little kitty, and it's sitting there in an open field going meow, and you're like, "Aw, kitty." And so she's thinking of this kitty, and suddenly the kitty is run over by a lawnmower, and the tears well up in her eyes and start streaming down her face, and she collects her tears in a bottle and and snail mails them to Max so that he can have his own tears. And he puts them on his face with an eyedropper. See what I mean? Pretty quirky, right? This movie is also, your mileage may vary, but I found this movie to be genuinely funny. Laugh out loud funny in a lot of places, but I could totally see people watching this movie completely stone faced. It's that kind of humor that you may understand it's supposed to be funny, it's just not going to tickle your funny bone. It did mine. I really enjoyed the film. Philip Seymour Hoffman does the voice of the Max. I didn't recognize his voice. And Eric Bana does the voice of one very minor character. Mostly it's the voice of Max and Mary and a narrator. The movie also goes to some surprisingly dark places here and there, especially towards the end, which almost becomes an issue of tonal incongruity with the rest of the film. But goodness, I don't think it goes too far. And the ending of the movie, if you're prone to crying, you might shed a tear. If you're an unfeeling monster like myself, you'll probably sit there stone-faced. But, yeah, that's just me. So, I could definitely recommend this to my sister. I know she'd love it. It is... The audience that would appreciate this film, I think, is small and limited. That's not to say that everyone else is an idiot and just doesn't get it. No, not at all. It's a film that I just don't think is for everybody, and that's okay. But it was for me, and I really quite enjoyed it. So if you like animation, if you like really quirky stuff, characters that... I just don't want to spoil anything, because I'll spoil one thing. Max has a fish called Henry VIII. He's called Henry VIII because the previous 7 Henrys have died, and he keeps replacing them. They never actually say in the movie, but he's got to be up to like Henry the 16th at some point. And there's actually a death montage of Henry deaths. This is why I like to script my videos. And there's one where the fish... Max is paying attention to something. He's using a hand mixer in a bowl, and he accidentally sticks it in the fish bowl. Whoops. There's one of those. So that happens. One of the Henrys leaps out of his bowl and out the window. Even Max also has an imaginary friend, but his therapist told him he doesn't need his imaginary friend, so his imaginary friend just sits in the corner reading to himself, and the camera keeps panning over to him, and he's like... And one day the imaginary friend goes... and just jumps out the window. So, a lot of people would watch that and go, what the heck? And other people like me really find this stuff fun. So, Mary and Max. I can't recommend it because, again, I think the audience for it is so limited that, if you said... If I recommend to 100 people watching this video, watch Mary and Max, probably only like 5 to 10 people would really get a kick out of it, and the other 90 would be, that was crap. Andrew has no taste. So, hopefully you can, based on what I've said, make an informed decision on whether you want to check this one out. If you're my sister... check this one out. You will like it. But the rest of you, I don't know you, so... Your mileage may vary. I really liked it. So that is day, 14 of 30 days of Netflix? Almost halfway through. See you tomorrow.